these cities. And what we're seeing are unprecedented, distressing declines in numerous cities. In fact, we're seeing this in a lot of different blue cities. We've talked about this in yesterday's live, and we're going to expand on this a little bit in today's video. And it's not getting any better, as New York City has actually indicated that more protests are expected in New York City to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. For those of you guys who are not quite up to speed, we're seeing a lot of the aftermath of the Hamas-Israel attack spilling over many U.S. cities here in the United States. But even beyond that, economists are warning that big blue cities are seeing some really distressing declines. And we talked about this yesterday. In fact, one of the commenters on a previous video had indicated that they're seeing a pattern in the cities where we're seeing like riots and protests taking place. And it seems to be an overwhelming number of blue cities and blue states where these excessive protests and bridge shutdowns and alarming warnings being predicted and actually being carried out. And a study shows that Seattle, Chicago, New York City, San Francisco, foot traffic is all down since the pre-pandemic of 2019. And now that we're, according to the Biden administration, on the other side of the pandemic is now behind us, we're still seeing a decline in foot traffic. Now, basically what we're seeing is the economic activity plummeting, mostly in the Democratic-led cities. Now, let me know if you guys are seeing this too in your area. Comment down below if you happen to live in a Democratic city, or if you happen to live in a Republican primarily led city. Just drop me a quick comment down below, guys. Just say Democratic or Republican based on the city that you're staying in. And also, please drop a quick like for the video. We've already got, wow, almost 500 people in here. I really appreciate you guys joining me on this live. It says here, quote, almost all of the big blue cities. It's San Francisco, it's Oakland, it's Minneapolis, it's my home city of Chicago, according to an economist. The numbers are really distressing. And they're saying that cities that are run by Democratic mayors, including Cincinnati, Ohio, Houston, Texas, you've got Raleigh, North Carolina, you've got Chicago, Illinois, Portland, Oregon, Columbus, Ohio, Seattle, Washington, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let me know if you guys hear your city in this list here. Louisville, Kentucky, St. Louis, Missouri. They're all ranking in the bottom of 66 metropolitan cities and areas that have seen the least amount of foot traffic ever since the recovery of 2019. It goes on to say that the university's downtown recovery rankings measures the number of unique visitors via mobile devices in use from March to June of 2023 compared to the same time frame in 2019. And they're seeing any number less than 100% indicates that the city has not yet recovered to the pre-pandemic levels. And this is disturbing to see. And it makes you wonder, is this a planned, coordinated attack against blue cities and blue states? Let me know what you guys are seeing. By the way, if you appreciate being up to date and informed, I've always been brought up to believe that knowledge is power. We've started a brand new YouTube channel. I'd love to see you guys over in the new YouTube channel. You'll see a link for it pinned in a pinned comment below in this video. I've also left a link for Truth Exposed, which is the new YouTube channel, in the description of this video. If you guys want to join us over there, lots of information over there that I don't share on this channel. You guys will be amazed. Arizona State cancels pro-Palestinian event featuring none other than Rashida Tlaib. Now, this event at Arizona State University has canceled a Friday afternoon event that would have featured Representative Rashida Tlaib, which is actually a Democratic congresswoman out of the state of Michigan. And Tlaib, who has been literally at the center of controversy in Congress for her criticism of U.S. involvement with Israel in its war against Hamas, was actually scheduled to give a speech at this particular event that was hosted by the Arizona Palestine Network, a pro-Palestinian advocacy group. Now, of course, I don't know how many of you guys have been watching all of the previous videos that I had shared with you guys. It was kind of breaking news at one point where Rashida Tlaib was basically one step away from being it was a level of reprimand within Congress for her statements previously. They were not they were not received in a positive manner. I'm not saying she was right. I'm not saying that she was wrong. You guys can comment down below and let me know if you're aware of what she had said. I don't want to repeat it on here. But ultimately, she was effectively reprimanded as a congresswoman, and it was pretty much like almost like the worst level of reprimanding that they could do before ultimately being borderline being ousted. But anyway, we're seeing a lot of these different protests in typically blue states, blue cities. Initially, it seemed like it was more pro-Israel protests, and then it seemed to be. And again, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong or if you think differently in the comments. Seems like it's a little bit more pro-Palestine now. But again, if you guys are not in agreement with me on that, please correct me if I'm wrong. But that's just my anecdotal observation. I don't have any statistics to back that up, but it just seems like there's a lot more, or at least there's a lot more pro-Palestine rhetoric in the media. So I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but you guys can let me know. Mammy Sweetwine just subscribed to the new channel. Awesome. Christopher Soils, thank you for joining me. I just want to do give a couple of quick shout outs to you guys in the comments. Bud Gibson, it's 100% true. Wow. Julie Tree Sanders says agreed. You're seeing it as well. Oh, okay. John M says New York and America will also face much in the coming months, including no food, as well as diesel fuel will run out and trucks and ships will stop. Interesting, John. Thank you for your insight and prediction on that. Mammy Sweetwine says facts. Lisa B. I'm not going to repeat that one. Phil O'Brien in Philadelphia. We've got Ella Miller in Virginia. So yeah, you guys are seemingly seeing what I'm seeing as well. So as a result of some of this reduced foot traffic in a number of cities, including major players like New York City, they've only seen 66% of foot traffic recovery, meaning states like New York, and specifically cities like New York City have yet to recover fully from the pandemic. Basically, there have been a massive evacuation of people leaving major cities like New York, Philadelphia, Boston, Chicago, Illinois, cities like St. Louis, Seattle. People were leaving the cities, taking advantage of remote work opportunities because there were so many, and it was almost like they were forced to evacuate because if you looked at the mandates that were coming out of a lot of the blue states, a lot of people were not comfortable with it. This drove real estate prices down in those areas. I mean, think about if you look at, right now, there has been a tremendous increase in the amount of real estate appreciation in the suburbs and in the rural areas. That in combination with reduced interest rates made everyone pretty much want to just kind of like leave cities in droves because they could get so much more for their money and they wouldn't have to deal with a lot of these mandates that were coming out of some of these big cities. So, so the question is, what can these cities do to bring people back in, right? There has been a tremendous amount of outflow. How can they bring these people back in? And what is happening right now with these protests, bridge shutdowns in numerous cities, primarily in blue cities, blue states, it's not helping their situation at all. Like I said, just 1 hour ago, hour and a half ago, more protests are expected in New York City to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Who wants to move to big cities when you're dealing with stuff like this? And again, New York City, it's a blue city. So, yeah, moving on. Manhattan. Midtown Manhattan protests are expected to continue in New York City today, which is Saturday, as calls for a ceasefire in the Middle East grow. A pro-Palestinian group is expected to take place in the Bay Ridge, Brooklyn area Saturday afternoon. Hey, it's 11:50. If you happen to live in New York right now, you may want to let your friends know who happen to live in the New York area that there's a pro-Palestinian protest, which is expected to take place in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn today, this afternoon. So you got about 10 minutes before it's noon, and then it's technically afternoon. So that's just a quick heads up. Be sure to share this information with someone who you care about in the area, or anyone who might be traveling to, from, or through New York. They would definitely want to know about that, because the last time there was a shutdown, I covered this yesterday or day before yesterday. They literally shut down a Bay Bridge in California. It was actually the Bay Bridge which led to San Francisco. People were a part of this collective, concerted, rather coordinated pro-Palestinian shutdown of the Bay Bridge, where basically people laid in the streets. They laid on the bridge streets, like the streets on the bridge. People were laying on the streets. They parked their cars, lined them up, blocked everyone from being able to drive into San Francisco. And then after they shut their cars off, they literally threw their keys into the ocean, or into the water under the bridge. So this literally shut the bridge down for about 4 or 5 hours. All the vehicles had to be towed because they couldn't start them, yada, yada, yada. It was a big mess. So hopefully we don't see anything like that taking place in Brooklyn, New York today. But you never know. You never know. It's wild. I just want you guys to please take care of yourselves, and spread the word, and make sure everybody's being aware and vigilant during these very difficult times. By the way, we got almost 700 people in here. Wow. If you guys, can we get like half you guys to drop a quick like for me? If we can get that like number up to 350, that will really make my day. I really appreciate you guys. So the crowd blocked traffic as the protesters marched downtown to Moynihan Train Hall at Penn Station in New York yesterday. So that was yesterday. And we're anticipating some additional outcry today based on this information here, ABC 7NY. I'm gonna try to remember to leave a link for you guys so you can check out this information that I'm sharing for you guys. I like to cite my sources whenever I can. Well, I can always cite my sources. It's just a matter of whether or not I remember to do it or not. But, just so that you guys know that the information I'm sharing with you is legit. It's not made up. I mean, I don't have to make this stuff up. I mean, and then why would I make this stuff up? It doesn't even make any sense. So North End Grand Central Terminal access reopened after doorways were restricted temporarily because of a demonstration in the area. No arrests were made last night during the protests. So again, there's been a lot going on in New York. Again, New York is well known for being a blue state, well known for being a blue city. But going back to Rashida Tlaib, Rashida Tlaib's the only Palestinian American member of Congress. Rashida Tlaib is the only Palestinian American member of Congress. The House voted to censure. That's what the term was. She was censured last week So the House voted to censure the Michigan Democrat in early November over her comments criticizing Israel amid its war with Hamas. The chamber approved the reprimand in a 234 to 188 vote, with 22 Democrats actually supporting and joining the Republicans to support the resolution. So Tlaib has been a really big she's been very outspoken about stimulus checks for the American people, pushing for Social Security reform. And in addition to that, Rashida Tlaib has been very outspoken against Israel's retaliatory attacks after Hamas's initial surprise attack took the lives of at least 1,200 Israelis. She's also been pretty much the center of a recent controversy where she posted a video on X, formerly known as Twitter, that said that President Joe Biden supported the genocide of Palestinian people. And this is why a lot of people are crying out for the United States to stop funding the Israelis, because essentially the money that the United States government, the federal budget, has allocated on a regular basis. It's literally in the budget, and it's been there for decades. This continuous funding to Israel, and it's almost like Israel owns the United States. So they're calling for a reprieve, like, please stop funding this thing, because if you stop funding it, they'll run out of money, and the war will ultimately stop. That's the theory, and that's the theory behind a lot of people crying out for the United States to stop funding this war here. But again, is this a coordinated attack against blue cities and blue states? I mean, again, when we had the pandemic shutdown, they put into place a number of different mandates. One of the mandates was, remember, you had to have like what was it? It was like a passport or something like that. You had to have a passport to go into a restaurant to be served, and it was almost like a social. It was almost like a society class kind of battle that they created, that ultimately made people feel. And correct me if I'm wrong, or if you feel differently, because I know how I feel. I know, like, if you walked into a restaurant and they wouldn't serve you because you didn't have a passport, like, are you kidding me? Saying that you had, gotten the jab or not? Like, I understand that they were trying to protect people, but we later found out, how well those things worked. But at the end of the day, you had a number of people who were literally almost having to be. It was almost like you were forced to do something against your will just so that you could be served or so you can eat. That I bring up because that was another major factor for why a lot of people were leaving these big cities, because they didn't want to have to deal with that. So if you combine a lot of the different mandates with the fact that you had record low interest rates in the real estate market, in the housing market, real estate was cheap. So it's like you could leave the city that had all these restrictions, whether it was New York City or San Francisco or St. Louis, Philadelphia, Chicago. You could leave these big cities, LA, Los Angeles. I mean, look at Los Angeles homeless problem, right? Look at San Francisco's homeless problem, right? So it's no wonder why the real estate values, especially commercial real estate in the areas, were plummeting. In fact, there were record low property values. There was record low commercial real estate being sold. In fact, there's so many instances of high-rise buildings that were in Los Angeles, for example, in San Francisco, for example, that were literally selling for less than residential properties. That blew my mind to see that. So you got to wonder what's going on. And then you have so many workers, employees, unwilling to go back into the office because employers just want to use their power to make you come back in the office. And people are like, no, we enjoy our freedom. We don't want to have to go back in the office just because you're telling us to, just to do the same kind of work that you've been doing remotely. So it makes a lot of sense, that these cities are having these mass evacuations of people leaving because no one wants to deal with that anymore. People don't want to deal with that anymore. People want to be free. They want to spend more time with their families. They don't want to have to beg and ask for permission to be able to attend their son's or their daughter's soccer game or their ballet event. Most people didn't even realize how much time that they had lost away from their families until the pandemic happened. And then they realized, oh, wow, I spend 90% of my waking hours away from my family. I pay strangers to watch them, only to come back home too tired to enjoy my time with them. And by the time you actually have the time to enjoy with them, once you retire, because you spend your whole life away from them, they're all grown and you've pretty much missed your entire children growing up. It's unreal. And then Facebook makes it even more apparent on how much of your life is going by, because Facebook is always bringing up old pictures from like a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. And then it hits you. It's like, wow, look at how much of my life I've wasted away from my family. But Facebook really makes Facebook really puts time into perspective because it really shows you how much time has passed being wasted away from your family. So anyway, once remote work opened up, we saw this massive evacuation from these big cities like New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco. And because there was so much drive and demand for this housing that was available away from the big cities, well, what happened? Well, we saw a massive increase in the property values, massive increase in property values. States like Florida used to be, I mean, like I love Florida personally for vacationing. You guys just type in Florida if you love going to Florida for vacation with your family, or even if you happen to live in Florida. Just type in Florida if you feel me on that, right? So Florida used to be one of those states where you could go and you could literally like experience a wonderful time without spending a whole lot of money. And Florida was one of the few states where you could actually go and purchase real estate, whether it was waterfront property or near the water, near the beach, for a reasonable amount of money. Well, Florida was one of the states that happened to open up sooner than the other states. If you guys remember, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he was totally against all these different mandates. And basically it was like, you could do whatever you wanted in Florida. And you weren't under the thumb of the government, like a lot of the blue cities and blue states were managing their population. And so this drove a significant influx of people who were trying to evacuate out of the states like California. I mean, if you were from California and you were paying like, I don't know, $5,000 a month for a 1,000 square foot apartment, and then you went to Florida and you realized you can get a 1,500 square foot apartment for like $1,500. It was like you felt like a millionaire, right? So, literally just moving from California to Florida, you almost could become a millionaire because your expenses were reduced. Your cost of living had adjusted downward drastically, just making a move from expensive states and cities like California, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and the like, right? So this forced a lot of real estate to just kind of go through the roof. Then, of course, a lot of people took some of that extra money and they started investing in the real estate, which was very cheap in Florida, and they turned them into Airbnbs. And so that created this Airbnb explosion in major cities in Florida, Tallahassee, Miami, Orlando, Panama City Beach. You had all these different cities, Clearwater, Florida. So you had all these different Daytona Beach. It was wild. So you had all these different cities that were, very inexpensive. All of a sudden they just experienced this massive spike. Not all, it was never just one factor. It was the mandates that did not exist there. People felt free. They could enjoy themselves. People who wanted to be free could be free in that particular state. People who came from very high cost of living states and cities could move there and purchase more real estate, more housing for their family for a fraction of the price. Interest rates were at record lows. You could get a 30-year fixed rate interest rate mortgage for like 3%, right? So it was a phenomenal opportunity. And, of course you got where we're at now. So many people have flooded Florida. Florida has been flooded. And now there's a lot of people who are finding very, very difficult to afford living and staying in the state of Florida. In fact, original Florida residents, I'm seeing it more and more in the comments, guys. People who have lived in Florida all their lives are now considering moving out of Florida because Florida has gotten so expensive because of all of the people who are evacuating out of these big expensive cities and states to Florida. They've driven the price of Florida real estate up. Property values are up. HOA fees are up. Then you combine it with the natural disasters in Florida, raising property insurance coverages. Heck, insurance companies were getting wiped out because the natural disasters and the insurance claims being filed by homeowners, whether it was single family residences or if it was commercial property owners. They were literally filing these very expensive, costly claims to their insurance companies, and the insurance companies were pretty much getting wiped out to a point where they're like, hey, we're just going to pull out of Florida. So Florida cost of living ended up going through the roof because of many of these various factors. Vulcan 19 says, I moved out of Florida in 1988. Joe Silva says, no, please don't go to Florida. Florida is bad. Matt says, I'm selling my home in Florida soon. So how many of you guys are considering leaving Florida? That's wild. Like I know that Florida has increasing expenses and people are, reconsidering their options because what was once a great move is now becoming so much more expensive. How many of you guys are either looking to move to Florida or looking to move out of Florida? Just drop me a quick comment, just a brief comment, down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. By the way, if you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be informed on a level where I, covering topics where I just don't cover them on this channel, check out Truth Exposed. I'll leave a link for you guys down below in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. Truth Exposed is the brand new YouTube channel. Getting a lot of positive feedback from you guys on them. So in fact, I just dropped a new video this morning, and it's kind of talking about the mega cities that are exploding here and the population control of 2050. Anyway, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. I'm gonna leave that link for you guys in the description down below this video. But so get this, right? So these different cities, a lot of people are trying to leave these big cities, downtown cities and whatnot. And some people are like, well, why is that, right? This Economist indicated that I think it's because of the fact that the carjackings, the crime, the homelessness, the homeless problem situation, the fact that you got these high taxes in the areas, they're driving people out. Well, you think? You think? He goes on to say, by the way, when you have fewer people going into these cities, think about the impact that this has on the stores and the restaurants and so on. So this kind of almost goes into, how many stores are shutting down, right? So anyway, on the other hand, you got cities like Las Vegas, Nevada. How many of you guys like Vegas? You ever been to Vegas? It's actually a phenomenal city beyond just because, well, let me take that back. Every city has its ups and downs. Las Vegas has definitely its ups. Las Vegas definitely has its downs. But Las Vegas which has they have an independent mayor. They were the only city, get this guys, Las Vegas, Nevada, which has an independent mayor, was the only city to see a positive post COVID recovery with a foot traffic rate of 103%. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Charismatic Fiend says they live in Las Vegas. Awesome. Move to Montana. You could be a dental floss tycoon. Oh my God. Vulcan 19 says you've been to Vegas. Awesome. Wild Bill 31 says, I don't lock my car at night in Florida. Panama is in decline, according to Sammy. We've lived in Vegas for 5 years and absolutely loved it. Adrian Foreman, thank you very much. Eliza 626, West Virginia. Wow. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, guys. If you haven't already, please do your boy a favor, drop a quick like for the video. I appreciate hanging out with you guys this Saturday morning. I hope you guys enjoy the weather out here where I'm at. It's a beautiful sunny day. Stay away from the protests and the riots. Anybody you happen to know who lives in or around or is traveling to or through New York, please kind of let them know what's planned for today with the whole protest expected to take place in Brooklyn. Based on the information that I have here, it looks like they're expecting that to start taking place this afternoon. So it's 12. It's 10 minutes after 12 now. So things are probably, if they're, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I just want you guys to be aware of what's going on. So you're not surprised. Anyway, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out the new channel, Truth Exposed. I'll leave a link for you guys in the description down below. And I'm going to see you guys on the next one. Be safe, guys.